All right. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's Knowledge Forum. Got a lot of exciting info to share. My name is P. Wade Ross with Texas Small Farmers and Ranchers Community-Based Organization, and I'll be serving as your host, and tonight I'll be serving as your presenter. And we do have a few housekeeping items that we typically go over, especially if it's your first time joining. Right now, you have been muted, so please feel free to freely use the chat feature at the bottom of the screen. Also, we like to point out in respect for your time that we're going to try to keep this within 90 minutes. We probably get out here sooner than that, but want to make sure if it hits that 7:30 mark that you don't feel like you're being rude. We really want to respect your time. And if it happens to go over for any reason, hopefully we'll go under. If it goes over, please feel free to excuse yourself, which brings me to the next point, which is that we will be recording this. So this would be a great, if there was any knowledge forum that we take notes, this would be a great one to do so. But I do encourage you, this first run through is just to feel free and listen through. We will be sending out that recording to each of you. So you can, hopefully, if I've done my job the right way, you'll want to re-listen to it. So I got some good gems to share with you. So with this really being the month of March, really, which makes up our organization's true official 20th anniversary since we've been in existence since 1998. We just felt as an organization that it's very important that we kick off our next 25 years with a foundational topic that fits squarely into our core values, which is impact, growth, and excellence. So tonight's topic is titled Be the Exception, and that starts with building generational wealth. So which really checks a lot of boxes for us, almost every box when it comes to our core values as a foundational reason why we're in existence and why we started 25 years ago. So hopefully everyone's getting settled in, and just know that after the presentation, we will open things up for Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free and tee those up as well. Be happy to answer them. And then we'll finish up with some quick announcements, some upcoming opportunities before we adjourn. So with that said, let's get rolling here. Let's see. Now I'm going to start this presentation off. I'm going to really jump it off with a news clip that I saw for the first time. It actually came out last year, but I saw it for the first time a few weeks back. A little bit startling, but I thought it would be good to start this presentation off with that clip. Here you go.
It is time now for our Equity and Opportunity Series, and Frank Holland joins us this morning with a closer look at the growth in Black spending power. Frank.
Hey, good morning to you, Andrew. Black spending power reached a record $1.6 trillion in 2021. The ability to buy, save, and invest more than doubling since 2000. That growth exceeding the full U.S. economy, but actually lagging other ethnic groups. Latinos with a 288% increase, Asians with a 388% increase in spending power. However, other groups, they've also seen an increase in their net worth. Black Americans instead have seen their wealth actually fall by 14%. And with the S&P gaining 27% last year, the value of U.S. homes increasing by 31% last year, many Black leaders are asking the Black community to really rethink how it spends.
So really to
time now for our Equity and Opportunity
summarize what you just saw there is that in that video is that pound for pound, Black Americans are the biggest spenders when it comes to ethnic groups. You cut it any way you want. We just are. And yet as a whole, our wealth is declining dramatically as a group. And while every other ethnic group, as you heard there, in that same time period, their income and their wealth is rising in that same time span that ours is decreasing. And really in any context, but in the context of building generational wealth, that's a problem that we really need to talk about and bring to the forefront of our community. So there's a proverb that says, actually, can we go back one slide there? There we go. There's a proverb that says, hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. And technically, that's exactly what's happening and really what's been going on in our communities. We make our money, to be quite frankly, but we give it all back. And so this knowledge forum is really about breaking that stronghold, hence the photo that you see on the screen. We really have to break that stronghold within our culture. And it's really our goal, Texas Small Farmers Ranchers, CBO, is really to start today with this presentation. And our hope is that you take some of this information home, share it with your families, because that's really, when you're talking about generational wealth, it really starts with the knowledge and the know-how. So we'll go to the next slide there. So just kind of hitting the rewind button, by design, our educational system has really conditioned us to really believe that if we work hard in school, and land a decent job, that our life, especially related to money, will just keep, rising like an escalator, just a constant rise to the top. That's really what we're led to believe. But, some of you on this call will know, as you see this next slide here, that by the time we hit about 30 years old, we realize, reality really just sets in for us. We realize that managing our personal finances is nothing like riding an escalator. It's actually more like riding an angry bull. Things go up and down, and we just are really trying to hold on for our dear life. And this next slide will actually share with you some shocking statistics. And some of those are that 58% of Americans have less than $1,000 sitting in their savings account, so if some type of emergency comes up and it exceeds $1,000, they have to get on the phone. And that's why you see so many of these different GoFundMes and things like that. 20% of us we haven't saved one dime of our annual income. And really what that means is what comes in goes right back out. And only 30% of us use a budget to guide our monthly spending or daily spending when our paychecks come in. So we really don't have a plan for our money, which at the end of the day means that we're living paycheck to paycheck, hoping, that we don't, that we see next payday before, that money runs out. So at the end of the day, what I've just described to you is life in the rat race. And really what this means, just like I said, is many of us are just living paycheck to paycheck. And the sad truth is that there's thousands and thousands of graduates who are entering our workforce every year that look just like you and I, but they face that same dilemma. They're all set, ready to make money. They're ill-equipped to keep that money, that hard-earned money that they make, yet alone multiply that money. So let's take a closer look at some of the things that we can do to really change that narrative. And I like to call this kind of the money blueprint. And this is the blueprint. Call it, shape it any way you want, but this is the blueprint that the top 3% of wealthiest Americans live by religiously each and every day. And that's why I wanted to take this time to go through this again as a foundational topic for us, because there's no reason why we cannot implement some of these things that you see on the screen. So the only difference between many of these folks, many of them who are new millionaires, many of them who are self-made, they're not, we like to think, it makes us feel better that most of these folks were born with this, a silver spoon in their mouth, But the reality is they learn these principles that I'm going to share with you, and they immediately put them into action. And that's really my hope for each of us on this call. But before I go any further, I think it really helps to set the stage if I share a little bit about my personal journey, especially when it comes to money. It wasn't always pretty, y'all. I grew up in a working class family. Many of you know my parents, who are actually the founders of this organization, Wade and Anita Ross, as you see pictured there. You know, my dad worked, he was an auto mechanic, and my mom, you know, was a stay-at-home mom, but she also worked later on as we got closer into high school. She began working at the phone company, our local phone company. So after graduating high school, you see the little picture there, my little football head. After high school, college, I was drafted into the NFL, had a short stint in professional football. After a couple of years, I found myself, I blew through all my money and found myself back on my parents' couch. And also I jumped around to different friends' couches as I tried to figure out what I was going to do now that I was grown up and had a real job. So by 25, I was just bouncing around trying to figure things out. By age 29, the good news is I had rebounded to become a co-founder of a mortgage firm called Q Fund Incorporated. And within 5 years of opening that firm, Community Bank came and bought us out, and my partners and I. And at that time, I was able to see more money into my bank account than I had ever seen in my life. Now, the bad news is within a little over 5 years, I would say I was broke again. I had learned the hard way that money is very elusive. It's easy to spend if you don't know how money works. And it was at this point that I really decided to really learn what I didn't know about finances, because that hurt. You know, that didn't feel good to have it, and then all of a sudden it was all gone. And in doing so, I realized that this was stuff that simply, once I learned what it took, I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't stuff that they teach us in schools. And so I really shifted my career. I still was in the mortgage industry, but I really shifted it into education, as you see there, just educating the masses. And it didn't matter, black, white, green, yellow. If you came to my workshops, I was going to teach you, just like now, I was going to share with you those gems, those need to knows to create financial art, financial security, financial freedom for the attendees there. Uh-oh, I hear something there. Let's see, let's go to the next slide. All right, so now you know a little bit about my journey. Let's jump right into the good stuff, which is the blueprint. First and foremost, the first, I would say, most important component of building your financial art is establishing a wealthy mindset. And really referring back to the initial video, when they spoke of the 14% drop in wealth while other ethnic groups' wealth increased during that same time, I personally believe 100% of that is a reflection on mindset, and a poor mindset that we've adopted in our culture. And really, you know, the short of it is our culture's mindset is really of getting stuff. I call it stuffitis. And when we do that, a lot of times our culture likes to show our wealth, and it's killing our finances, y'all, and it's killing our generational wealth. So again, wanted to take this opportunity to bring that to the forefront. You know, as Mr. Einstein once quoted, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them, which to me is a very profound statement. So as I shared earlier, when it comes to mindset, wealthy people view money through a whole different set of goggles. They just see money differently. And I probably, to best illustrate that, I'm going to share a personal story of mine to help paint that picture of how people with a wealthy mindset, people who are financially savvy, how they go about their business each day. So back when I co-owned our mortgage firm, again, I was in my late 20s, mid to late 20s at that time. One day, my business partner approached me and he said, "Hey, Phil, let's go half on a boat." And he said, "Man, let's get a mini yacht, matter of fact, something that we can take our clients out on and just have some fun." So, me being a 20 something with money in my pocket, I agreed. So we ended up buying a boat. We went to the dealership, and just like that, we had a brand new boat. We didn't pay cash for it. We weren't doing that good in business. We're doing pretty good, but not that good. But we were able to finance a boat. So early on, I was very excited about being a boat owner. I take all my friends out there. Most of my friends never been on a boat before, so it was pretty cool, especially if when we had opportunities not only to get out on the lake, but go, take it out on the ocean. So it was pretty cool. However, over time, it got old. Those boat payments, the cost to dock the boat and store it, and the maintenance costs. It always seemed like something was breaking every time we went out. It just got old real quick for me, especially for my pocketbook. But the crazy thing about it was none of those things ever seemed to bother my business partner, and I couldn't figure out why. And I finally later learned that before he ever thought about buying a boat, he went out and rented his bedrooms in his house to a bunch of his frat brothers. And he had a pretty big house. It probably had about 6, 7 bedrooms. It had a basement. So he had tons of space. He rented, and he made so much extra money just off of renting out rooms that's how he financed the boat. Okay. And not only did that help him finance the boat and pay for all the other costs that went with that boat, but he asked me to go half on it. So I'm paying half of the note as well. But I shared this with you because it was one of my first lessons in wealth. Wealthy people simply see and do things differently than the rest of us, who have not adopted a wealthy mindset. So while most Americans view money as a vehicle to get more stuff, like I talked about, but in most cases, the stuff they get is really stuff they don't need. Wealthy-minded people never even consider spending their hard-earned money on dollars unless it's something that works for them, unless it's something that's going to put money in their pocket, or they already have surplus sitting there, waiting to, that they can use for recreation, because they like to live too, just like the rest of us. Don't get that, as the young people say, don't get that twisted. They enjoy fine things like the rest of us. They just go about it a little bit differently. And the next slide will kind of illustrate how they view money. You see, they see every dollar. Wealthy people and financially savvy people see every dollar that hits their bank account as a potential employee that they can put to work. They understand that every dollar they make has the potential to create more money for them if they follow the blueprint that I just shared with you. And we'll go through that a little bit more as we go here. Now, this blueprint is how a small percentage of Americans, that 3% that we talked about, win with their finances, while the rest of us are scratching our heads trying to figure it out while we're on that treadmill called the rat race. All right, so we talked about that first component, which is wealthy mindset. Second component to build your financial art is you must become the boss of your money. I like to refer to it as you incorporated. And really what this means is you must take ownership of your finances. And as the owner of You Incorporated, just like any other business owner, it's on you to get your business in order, to get your financial house in order. And as that new CEO of You Incorporated, one of your first tasks that you'll want to take is to assess where you're at, where your business is at. Okay. So hopefully you guys understand that concept of You Incorporated, whether you run your own business or you're W-2 and punch that clock each day. You still want to look at everything as your own personal business. All right. Now you can do the assessment, and you want to do the assessment in two primary ways. The first way is what you see on the screen there, is really to measure your net worth by totaling up your assets. That's the things the things with value that you own, and versus your liabilities, which is basically the total amount of what you currently owe. Now, in addition to assess where you're at, it's very important that you measure your monthly cash flow, I should say. And very, very important especially when we're talking about building wealth, is assessing where you're at and knowing the numbers, not thinking but knowing. And one of the best ways to do this is to take out your checkbook. And hopefully you guys are recording in your check ledger. I know some of us don't do that, but if you're not doing that, start recording in your check ledger. And what you want to do is take out your last 2 and 3 months and match up these categories that you see here. And don't worry, we'll get you a PDF of this. Either we'll put it in the chat or get it out to you with the recording at the end. But what you want to do is go through each category and start averaging out over the last 3 months. Where you stand. Be honest with yourself. If there's a pretty big range, then kind of take the middle ground on it. But get an idea of how much is going out and how much is coming in each month. That's why I put two sets of forms here. One is for income and one is for monthly expenses. All right. So the third component to building your financial arc is to make a habit of winning in the margins. And when I talk about winning in the margins, really what I'm talking about is wealthy-minded people do the little things every day that makes a difference in their cash flow. Little money savers, things that they do every day that add up over time, such as, they'll brown bag it. They'll go to the grocery store and shop on Saturday and Sunday for what they're going to eat for lunch at work on, Monday through Friday, versus the opposite, which is spending money at, fast food or some other place that tends to add up. Another thing that they do, as an example, is they shop at discount stores when they need to buy clothes or things like that, or maybe they shop with coupons. When it comes to vehicles, they keep up good maintenance on their vehicles. Number one, because they want their vehicles to operate, to the best of their ability. But the other piece of that is they don't want to have to buy a new car every couple of years. They want to be able to drive that car that they got. Number one, they research and make a good buy on a quality car, keep that maintenance up, and keep that $350, $400, $500 plus insurance in their pocket each month so they can put that money to use, just like the financially savvy do. Okay. And it goes on down. There's all kinds of different ways you can win in the margin. But really when I say win in the margin, it's really maximizing monthly cash flow, finding ways that, may hurt a little bit, be a little bit painful now because you like to do other things with that money. But trust me, when you go to the bank account a year from now, 2 years from now, you're feeling a whole lot better than you felt when you were, living paycheck to paycheck. And really saving on monthly is not the only way. That's one way to win in the margin. Next slide. Another way to win in the margin is really making additional income. I like to call it through side hustles. And these could be such things as selling, for some of us who are farmers or growers, selling produce or other value-added goods such as jams and jellies. I've had people, say, hey, I want to, grow and sell nuts, anything. Maybe you want to do it wholesale. Maybe you want to do it direct at a farmer's market. But the point is, make a little bit of extra income on the things that you're already doing. Or, maybe you're out in a rural area and you find that you have a lot of elderly neighbors, who might need help with fences, building fences. I know some of us don't enjoy building fences. I particularly don't. But if you're some people do. Some people love, building fences. Make a business out of it, and get that additional income as a side hustle. These are just some examples. There's more that I have on the next slide here. Just plenty of opportunities. What I'm gonna do is get me a drink of water. And these are a few of many out there that you can use as side hustles. And the key to it all is to find something that you enjoy and seems to be a good fit for you. And, hopefully you can grow it into a larger business. Really, the key to all of it is find something that you really enjoy, though. That way, if you hit a speed bump in your business, you don't, throw in the towel. You quick drink of water here. All right. So hopefully you got a chance to peruse that, but like I said, we'll be sending this out. So if you didn't get a chance to get a good look at that list, and there's many more side hustles. Those are just some of those that popped into my head that I wanted to share with you to get those wheels churning on ideas. Now, the fourth component to building your financial arc is to create a cash reserve with the purpose of building a surplus of cash that you'll eventually invest. Now, one of the best ways to make saving money a priority for yourself, because for a lot of us, we started, but we find it's kind of painful because it's starting to burn money and burn a hole in our pocket. We find ways to detour and go other directions. So really what you want to do is pay yourself first and find ways to pay yourself first. And so in some cases, that may mean that you may need to do a direct deposit. If you're undisciplined, I know I'm undisciplined. That money will start burning a hole in my pocket at some point because I'll find something that I want. It's just human nature. So for me, knowing who I am, I typically do a direct deposit. I go to my employer and ask them, hey, I don't even want to see that money. Can you put this in my bank account and put this in a savings account that I know I have to drive across town to get access to. So remember, our end goal in this whole thing is creating financial freedom, independence, and security. Okay. So this is a big piece here. Okay. Now, step one is to really establish your 6 to 12 months worth of living expenses. Remember the exercise we talked about before where, I said, pop open your checkbook and kind of see what your living expenses. What you want to do is whatever that bottom line is, you want to multiply that times 6 or 12 and really establish an emergency fund. And then once you do that, once you do establish 6 to 12 months worth, the next thing that you want to do is start to eliminate your loan and credit card debt, starting with the lowest balance on one particular credit card. And we like to call that snowballing the debt. Basically, what you'll do is take a certain amount that you've already used to, paying out the debt once, put that towards your credit card, okay? And pay off one credit card, then take that total amount and pay off the next credit card and take those total amounts that you're already used to paying and pay off the next credit card or car loan or student loan, whatever it might be, until you're finished. One tip is two tips. One is are they student loans? maybe leave those alone till the last part of it because they typically have lower interest rates. But if they do have higher interest rates, that is something you want to tackle at some point. And the other thing is talk to your tax advisor before you jump out and start trying to pay down mortgage debt, because in some cases, depending on your income, that it may be better for you to have that tax shelter. And if you pay off your mortgage, depending on what your future income is going to be, over the next 5-10 years, that might not be the best move for you. So those are two things that I'll stay with the action. But what you want to do is repeat this process until it gets to the end. Now, one big tip is don't try to take one step at a time. First, establish your emergency fund. Don't try to establish your emergency fund and then at the same time try to pay down debt. And the reason why I say this is because I've been at this for a long time as a financial coach. And there's nothing like seeing a nice chunk of money sitting in your bank account because you've been establishing your emergency fund to keep you going. It just provides a spark that keeps you moving forward towards building, your financial arc of financial freedom. Now, on the flip side, if you're trying to build up your emergency fund and pay off debt, you're not going to see those early successes, which are so beneficial and to give you the momentum you need. And again, I've just seen so many people get discouraged over a few months because they don't see the results they need. So my tip to you is to start with the emergency fund, get that up to 6 to 12 months, and it'll feel like you're running downhill on everything else from that point forward. Because guess what? You got a nice cushion there, and mentally, you're not living paycheck to paycheck anymore. Okay. All right. So my fifth component to building your financial arc is utilizing your savings as a seed money to really invest in money generating assets. Now, money generating assets is just how it sounds. It's assets, it's things that you own that make money for you. This is the difference. This is what separates most wealthy people or financially savvy people or financially free people from the rest of us is they don't spend their stuff on stuff. The last resort is spending money on things that are not going to put money in their pocket. They typically are looking to save, and then they're looking for opportunities that crop up, and then we wonder, how do the rich get richer? They get richer when someone has to foreclose on their house because they've been spending on stuff they really didn't need. And now they can get that house at a discount. And guess what? They've been saving their money. So now they're able to pounce and pay cash those things. And I just use that as an example. But money generating asset is really something, an asset, a thing that's going to put more cash flow into your pocket. That might be, somebody who has real estate. It might be for one of us farmers. It may be that we enjoy growing vegetables, and we go out and we purchase a high tunnel or a hoop house so we can grow more vegetables year round, and whatever that might be, the key is that asset is that you invest in increases your monthly cash flow, preferably on day one. So let's say you go out, you sell hay, you're making a pretty good living on it, and you say, hey, I've got all these different hay fields. Let me, or maybe you're finding out more and more people want you to plant hay or cut hay in their yard. So you go out and you buy a brand new tractor, okay? You want that tractor to be making 2, 3, 4 times more cash than it's costing you in things such as your monthly tractor note, the gas you got to put into it, and the maintenance costs. So please do your research ahead of time before you just go out and get that nice, shiny new tractor that's now putting you in the poorhouse, and eventually you have to give it back. And I'm saying these things because we see it every day, and we gotta be more savvy about how we're going about things. Okay. And I know we get calls all the time. Hey, Phil, hey, P Wade, I want this loan. Okay, great. What's your plan? Show me your business plan. Huh? What's that? You know, do your research, y'all. Okay. Now, the sixth component to building your financial arc is establishing several different streams of income. It's a good idea to create multiple streams of income for a couple primary reasons. One is that having more than one income really ensures that you have something to fall back on. Maybe, there's a job loss or something like that. It really reduces the stress of that if you have some other money coming in that offsets it. And the other thing as well, we're talking about building generational wealth, is that the more sources of income you have that are quality, the faster your money grows. And again, these are the things that many of the financially savvy put into play each and every day. Okay, so quite similar, any of us in this room can create multiple streams of income. It can be done a couple of different ways. One way is to create several related enterprises within the same industry. As you see here, a lot of us, we talk ag, we're ag organizations. So rightfully, I'm going to pop up some information, an example, on a farm operation with multiple streams of income. It could be something such as raising and selling livestock, at the same time, you're growing vegetables, or making sure that your soil's right for the pastures that your livestock is eating on, or like I said, vegetables or high tunnels or just a garden acreage that you're selling wholesale. Maybe it's selling the surplus hay that we talked about in your pastures that you've stocked up, for your cows to cut down on your bottom line and cut down on your expenses, when it comes to feed. Maybe you have some extra, that you can sell off and make some good money to reinvest in your operation. Or, maybe there's a nice chunk of portion of your land that you're not using at all, or maybe you don't use any of your land at all. You want to lease it, to another farmer. Those are things that you can look into. All are income, considered different streams of income enterprise on the same farm or on the same enterprise, a business, I should say. Another way to look at multiple streams of income could be in totally different fields that may not even relate to one another, but you're good at, and you've mastered, and you want to put those skills to use. Maybe it's agriculture, like we talked about. Maybe it's real estate. Maybe it's consulting, or training, or maybe you start a YouTube channel. There really are two keys or two tips that I would give, whether if you go this route, is number one, don't quit your day job. Really, it's best, just like we laid out in this blueprint, to start any business small, and learn it, and master it and master the ins and outs of it. Just because you're great at something, doesn't mean that you're going to be a good business person. You may have to go back to school and learn those things and then apply them, then go back and learn them again. And we'll talk about that in my last slide, which is talking about creating mastery. But hopefully you can start as a side hustle and grow it accordingly as you get more and more successful. Okay. And the other thing is to try to choose a business type that you have a passion for. Not just if you're getting into it just to make money because your friend or someone else said, hey, you can make a lot of money here. Guess what? Once you hit a speed bump, and you will hit a speed bump, that's called business, it's very tough to stick with that business, to weather those storms if it's something that you're not really invested in, that you're not committed to. So try to choose a business that you have a passion for. So we covered having a healthy mindset, which is number one. Number two, becoming the boss. Number three, winning in the margins, which really means maximizing your cash flow. We talked about saving. We talked about investing in money-making assets. We talked about establishing multiple streams of income. And while none of these things that I just shared with you are earth-shattering, I know many of you have heard of all these things before. They are key components that get you to the door of financial. Then there's mastery. Now, mastery can be viewed as really the final component that really unlocks that door. That's why you see the picture there. I just thought it went well with my presentation. But as our man Mike Tyson once said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And achieving financial freedom is really no different. Don't let anybody tell you that there's not going to be any speed bumps. There will be. And with that said, it's not good enough just to know the blueprint because at various points you're going to have obstacles and stumbling blocks. So you want to have mastery. Now, one of the secrets of mastery, of overcoming things, is being like the buffalo. I know some of you are sitting here going, "What? I got a buffalo on my screen now." But I'm going somewhere with this. You see, when a buffalo sees a storm, they don't run away from it. Unlike a cow, what a cow does or cattle do is they see a storm and they try to run away from it. And as a result, they're in that storm way longer than they need to be and suffering along the way. But what a buffalo does is instead, when they sense that a storm is coming, they turn and they face that storm and they run directly into it and through it to the other side. So that's how I want us to be. That, hits the title, Be the Exception. As you start your journey to build your financial art, there's going to be some obstacles, y'all. That's just the real of it. But when we're talking about mastering, we're talking about creating general wealth. That comes with applying what we're talking about each and every day, creating good habits, and really being able to weather those storms, which means that you got to run through them. Just know that they're coming. Just hunker down, run through it, get back to the game plan, get back to the blueprint that I just shared with you. So in short, from this day forward, we want you to be like the buffalo. We want you to be the exception. All right, I think that I'm at the end here. So what we're going to do now is open it up for any Q&A. So if you don't mind, if you want to raise your hand or put it in the Q&A, and then we'll be sure we answer those questions for you, if there are any. You see any questions there, Uche?
I do not, but please feel free to use our question and answer section or in the chat.
All right, we'll give you a few more minutes, see if something pops up. Let me know if something pops up there. All right. I don't see any questions there, so we'll keep this thing moving. I went a little bit longer than I normally go, so we'll try to finish this thing up here. I'm gonna look at my notes here real quick. I think I had a few other talking points, some announcements to share with you. As mentioned earlier, our new mantra moving forward, entering these next 25 years, is to be the exception. So really what this means for all of us, as you just heard me share, is not only getting our financial houses in order, so we can pass this knowledge and skills to our next generation. That's really what the goal is here. But also we want to start re-educating ourselves on the basics of establishing healthy soils and growing really healthy food. I know a lot of us traditionally in this organization have been livestock producers. We want you as well, to start dabbling in, even if it's small acres, start dabbling in growing fresh, healthy vegetables if that's something that you're not already doing, because that also the skill set that we need to hand to the next generation, just based on where we're at. You guys you see the same news that I see, if they're talking about it, guess what? It's already gone down. They tried to prop things up. So if they're talking about recession, things like that, probably means we're in a recession. Okay. And you're feeling it at the grocery stores, you're feeling it at the gas pumps. And traditionally, as a people, we don't do the best job of saving ourselves and preparing. And that's really why we're doing this presentation today, is to start that and to do it collectively and to grow together, And so those are some of the opportunities that we have coming down the pike next week. For those of you who have any level of interest in selling vegetables or produce on any level, this opportunity that we're going to be focusing on next week is on selling wholesale. So even if you've never put a seed in the ground, but there's something that interests you as an opportunity, maybe 6 months, a year from now, and that's something you're interested in, I encourage you to join us. And I think we're going to share a link. Either we're going to put it in the chat or we're going to share it when we send you out the recording. It'll be next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central Time. And hope to see everyone there. And if you know someone else who might be interested, please have them join. Great program, great project, great partnership that we're in. That's really phase one that's going to lead to some bigger things as well. Also in the upcoming months, just like what I shared with you, we're going to be focused on personal finance, business basics, business development, soil health, growing basics, and also understanding how to really work best with USDA and other resources that offer certain assistance as well to help us get where we're going. Hey, that money's for us. As I tell people all the time, your tax-paying dollar is paying for it. It's coming out your paycheck. So you may as well take advantage of it, because guess what? Your competition is each and every day. So I think that's pretty much does it. Please check your make it a habit of checking your newsletters and your emails. Social media is another. We also have some social media outlets that are out there. You're going to get recording as a reminder. Please pass it on. If you felt like it was some information that you enjoyed, please don't hesitate to pass it on to someone else that you think can use it. And also, we talked about mastery. Once again, sometimes we learn things better when we watch it. I won't say sometimes, all the time when we watch it the second and third time around. So please rewatch it. Also, I encourage you to watch it in a way that you can teach this information to someone else. So that not only means watching it, but it means implementing those things as quickly as possible. The quicker you implement the things that I shared today, the more likely you are to see the results that you want for you and your family. So with that said, want to thank each and every one of you who have joined us tonight. Really, truly appreciate that. Hopefully you got a lot out of what we just shared. Also want to say a special thanks to our wonderful team at Texas Small Farmers and Ranchers, working behind the scenes to make sure that we can continue to bring this type of information to you. And with that said, until next time, be the exception.